This is Monica Perez, and I am here with such a lovely person. I always enjoy my conversations with the great Noble of the CFR network, and I'm going to let him tell you about his unique show and how to find it. And then we are going to dive in to the most interesting events of 2022. Noble, thanks so much. I'm so happy to see you or not
Yo,
see you.
indeed. Broadcasting from parts unknown and known to some. Muchas gracias. This has been a wonderful, again, experience, and thank you very much for the opportunity to grace your wonderful audience with a little bit of nobility, quote unquote.
So true, so true.
From sunny, not so sunny at the moment, Birmingham, England, CFR Network, Culture, Freedom and Righteousness. Nothing to do with the Council on Foreign Relations, but I thought I would usurp their indeed titleage and create something new with it. And ultimately, it's about exploring the human experience, inciting people to think, and trustfully, whether it's 1 to 100, someone's going to get a nugget of information or a jewel here and a jewel there, and that will enrich and improve their life. And that's what it's all about. It's about spreading the wealth of knowledge that we all have. We all have lots of information and knowledge. It's just how can we disseminate it to wider people?
And two things I love about your show is one, I feel like similar to my approach, you really are open minded and just want to get the truth. I'm not flattering myself, I try not to flatter myself to be in that company, but I feel like I can count on you to give me your best evaluation of what's going on without this preconceived agenda that the facts of the day need to fit into your view of the world, and you have a view of the world. So I think that's admirable and also really educational and interesting for us to listen. And I really like that you have a body of guests that's different from like our mainstream alt media podcast world here in the US. I mean, you have people from different cultures, from mixed martial arts
Yes.
and sex workers, and just people who probably have very libertarian leanings, which is my thing. But having a different perspective is just can open up a whole new world that you didn't even think
Yes.
was a way of looking at things, and I just love that.
It's about breaking barriers down. Ultimately, another thing, it's about destroying the barriers. We're in this modern age, we're putting through all of these boxes, and inside of the boxes, we have little labels. And inside the clothes, we've got even more labels and washing instructions and all types of stuff. And it's like, come on, ultimately, we have, eyes and ears, where we're upright walking, apparently the top of the food chain kind of thing. We definitely have different nationalities. We definitely look different from each other. But let's not focus on the differences. Let's focus on what we have in common. And what we have in common is we have good people and we have bad people. And what I'm trying to do and what you're trying to do is to separate the wheat from the chaff, which is the good from the evil. And so, look, these are the people that you need to be kind of paying attention to. Link up with like minded people. If you can't, just be the beacon of light within your community, within your household. It may just start from, and then within a year, 2 years, the whole household now starts to think a little bit more holistically and a little less selfish, less, it's about me, or I've got to get the newest thing. Oh no, it's about, what is my impact on what I'm doing now? How does that affect other people?
And it's such a white pill because you are not desperate for a solution because your focus, it's like karate, like you're supposed to aim beyond the board. And I feel like you're not looking at the end game in this dimension because you're spiritual, and that you look beyond the board so you can just calmly go through that process of enlightening your circle, bringing joy to your household. And I actually do believe that that is our only hope, is that the individual taking putting one foot in front of the other is really the only hope for you as an individual, and it's the only hope for
as
humanity.
the collective.
So I like it.
And
I
it's
like it.
so difficult. And Monica, this is some people might think, oh, Noble, he just sits, he just floats on a little cloud, and he's got shea butter, and he's in the lotus position. He does no wrong. He has no trials and tribulations, challenges, etc. It has taken a long time to get to the point where I am now, and I'm still on the journey. I am still on the journey.
And you live in the world. I mean, you have a day job. Like you can't be too in the clouds if you're putting food on the table.
This is the thing. I mean, and thanks for highlighting that, because many people think that content creators, I mean, some of them have a full-time job doing creating content.
Rare. That is hard to do. And
Ex
to keep your integrity. I mean, some people can do it, but you've got to, because you even just want to appeal to the masses.
mm,
If you need to rack up the numbers, you've got to, you've got to keep it within
yes.
like kind of alternative Overton window.
Totally. And it's so tricky. So many DMs, calls, video calls, just messages, interactions. Noble, why on earth hasn't your especially on YouTube, why haven't you got some more subscribers? You should be viral. I can't. You need to change your titles and make them more clickbait. I'm not interested in nothing like that. It'd be nice to have the visual representation, recognition on the old boob tube, but on podcast it's a lot, it's the numbers speak for themselves, and it's a very different kind of ball game, and I'm not necessarily seeking fame and recognition. I'm seeking people to DM me and say, Noble, thank you for that, you changed my mind, or you helped me to do this.
But the thing about the reach, yes, it would be great to be able to put the food on the table doing
Mhm.
this, but also you, the only reason, like my view is the reason to have reach is like I'm doing a lot of research myself, and I think I come up with these interesting insights and maybe add one little kernel to the body of knowledge in the world, which academics for, millennia
Mm.
have been dedicating their lives to adding one little kernel of knowledge that's lasting and worthwhile. But if you don't have the reach, it's, an awful lot of effort to put in, and you could just leverage it by people hearing it, and that's why I like to kind of expand the network across the pond to you. There's a lot of territory between you and me, so I love kind of, and someday I'm going to get to Birmingham, and we'll have to I don't
Yes.
even know if you imbibe, but you could have a little a seltzer or something. I don't know.
Yes,
You seem like the kind of guy who doesn't drink.
well, not well. As I say, I am a cheap date. I'm a very cheap date when if we're gonna go out for alcoholic beverages. Yeah, a pint will do me more than enough, and I will not be driving home on that.
See, you're a good man from top to bottom. But I have to tell you, there are a lot of people who are not good men from top to bottom on my
There we
list
go.
of people to watch, events to watch in 2022 in the rearview mirror. But the first person on my list, and this list is not really super duper in any kind of order except for what came out of my noggin. So I did two shows on Fishy Rishi, your new PM, Rishi Sunak, and I just think that guy is fishy as heck. And um I think he comes off as a totally different character. I think he never would have been gotten to where he is if they hadn't stacked the deck. I was like the game, like the whole thing was rigged to get him in. So I'll just so people know what happened was Boris Johnson, in my opinion, was completely pushed out as Prime Minister of the UK after having a vote of confidence, having a landslide victory. I think the last one as big as him was maybe Margaret Thatcher around that time in the 80s. There was no way this guy would have been pushed out without some help, which he cooperated with. His own party inside the cabinet was the catalyst led by Rishi Sunak. And I was like, oh, that guy is obviously, they've cooked up a deal with this guy's going to take over. That would have been too obvious. So they had a little placeholder in there. Truss, she was the shortest serving prime minister, I think, in UK history. And then they made it look like it was a tight race race with him and her. And then for some reason, totally inexplicable, the conservatives said, we need to get this guy in by the end of the week. And he had, maybe Boris Johnson was going to do it. There was another chick, I forget her name, but she was in the running. And they said, well, if you don't have 200 votes or whatever by noon on Monday, you can't even run. She didn't withdraw till like 11:59 on Monday. She made it so it was impossible for anyone to run against this guy. It was the most rigged placement of a world leader I have ever seen. And when you dig into his background, his father-in-law was the founder of Infosys, which is building the metaverse for the World Economic Forum. I think there is no other way to put it.
And his wife is very, very well off. This dude, Richie Sunak, is so devoid and divorced from the common folk, quote unquote, his constituents. It's unbelievable. It's let's rewind. The zombie apocalypse. They were all to his, oh, Boris Johnson. He's the best thing since sliced bread was invented. And he's doing all the best things, and he couldn't do it. Oh, he's unwell as well, Monica. But he's making these speeches every day, and he looks a bit rough. And then we have a little scandal with one of his MPs, inappropriate touching with males as well. And then we're thinking and we're seeing, and so some people are saying, yeah, he needs to kind of sort it out. And then, as you say, the plan fully unfolds. I mean, I really think that I don't think this is of a surprise for Mr. Johnson. I don't think this is a surprise for anybody. I think you are given an agenda. Sometimes that an agenda may change, but ultimately you are told within a period of time, this is where you're going to be. You're going to be there for maybe
Yeah,
shorter
I
than
agree.
you're going to be, but this is pre-planned. The the Chancellor of the Exchequer made the pound crash. Right now, look at the symbolism of this, Monica. He was an African gentleman, what the world would say a black man, the first black chancellor of the UK. And what did he do?
Fucked up immediately.
Yeah,
And the chick, they always do that. It's like you believe that the chick can't do math.
yeah, yeah. It's so in your face. It's very subtle though. It's very subtle. And if you look at vile Twitter, Twitter's an interesting place. It's very vile and toxic at times. The stuff that was said about this poor guy was out of this world. It's like, come on, like
Did
you read,
did he know? Was he in on it, do you think? Did he know? I
yeah,
mean, because what they were planning to do was so stupid
stupid,
that he
yeah,
had to have known, and so did she.
exactly, exactly. I had a
They were gonna give, like, tax cuts to the
yes,
rich. I mean, that was just nobody's doing that in England. That's the stupidest thing ever. Just stupid.
I had the
I'm all
conversation.
for it, but it's stupid.
To a point. I mean, look, don't get it wrong. I mean, I have some friends who, aren't necessarily poor, and I totally understand hiring very expensive accountants, and then you hire a tax avoidance an accountant, because unfortunately, it is not fair. People who don't have money and maybe earn, let's say, £25,000 a year, you know, it's apples and oranges. People who are making, let's say, 250,000 upwards, we're talking about a different tax bracket. You're on 20% VAT and your national insurance, etc. It's 30, 40, 50, and then
Yeah.
some of my associates 60% tax. Like, well, wait a minute. You're earning £1 million, and then the governmental wants to take 60% of that. That's not fair.
And it does get, I mean, it's the professional class. I went to school till I was 30 and I have a business degree and a law degree. I don't use it, but just the people I know who are in that boat, you have all these school loans, then you're working like a dog. I mean, you're working 80 hours a week. I used to work 80 hours a week. And when you do that, you have to live close to the city, which makes your housing prices go up. You cannot send your kids to public school. So all of a sudden you're looking at like, because close to the city, they don't have the public schools are like, deliberately dangerous and poor, poorly run, which makes no sense, right? Because it's all public. Like what, you don't have to, whatever. So your expenses go absolutely through the roof. And I noticed this many years ago. My husband got a raise and it kicked him into another tax bracket. And I was like, oh, this is a scam. Like, we're still not saving money. I said, let's just step off the grid. He was like, what are you talking about? I've come so far. And I was like, you really haven't.
Yeah.
And you're not probably going to get any further anytime soon. So save your, why have a heart attack? And he just he's still like, it's you can't turn. I'm like, let's just buy some chickens and go someplace cheap, and he's just like, you're insane. But it is a you can see, like, for the professional class, if you're not inheriting any money, or you don't, or you just like make income where they tax it at like
Yes.
50%, it's very, very hard to get out of that trap. And then, but the ones who do like investments and stuff,
Mhm.
their tax bracket's much lower. And like with these guys like Sunak, they he just his riches, he would like to say that he was a financial guy. I don't believe that. I don't think that he was like a successful financier. Maybe he was, but I think that all of his riches, and I think he was probably brought up into, like, a wealthy family,
Yes.
because he had that little quirk quote from a while back saying, like, "I know working class people," and then he's like, "Well, I don't actually know working class people." And it's like, dude, it's so cringe.
It's infuriating. It's just like, you're watching and you're giving an excellent analysis of what's going on. And I look over at, America and I see what's going on. I'm thinking, to be fair, the visuals, visually, like the person who's currently, I'm just doing air quotes, your president at the moment, he's not fit. He's not mentally or physically fit to be in office. This is absolute. So it's like one extreme to the next. You had Boris Johnson and Trump, very similar type, wild haired characters, making brass calls and doing
Totally.
these things. It was like, are we watching Back to the Future like one or two now? Like, Trump
I know, and
Towers.
it's no accident. I mean, they put him there knowing that's the impression, and I just feel like, I don't know if that plugs into this whole idea that democracy is broken, which is fomenting these ideas from left and right, from communism to fascism. They're just retreading the whole 20th century
Yes.
dialectic, and they're doing that, I think, like, cuz we had in 2000, let's say the election was stolen by Jeb Bush for George Bush,
Mm,
or it wasn't. But that was a big deal.
it
Like,
was.
the fate of the world like rested on a hanging Chad, which, by the way, would be my porn star name if I were a guy. Hanging Chad, because this little thing on the voting that is like a Chad, you poke it out. And if it was hanging off, did that mean that you voted for that person, or was that an accident? So it all rested on the hanging Chad. And it was, I remember a German guy making fun. It was like, a friend of mine was like, "Oh my gosh, your country's such a mess." I was like, "Are you kidding? We are all waiting patiently to see what happens, and we will accept the answer. Like, we are absolutely have complete faith in
Yeah.
our process,
Hmm.
and it's totally allowing for a peaceful transition of power, even though it's really contentious." And we can't have that now. They intentionally took that away from us. I think it came from the Parkland shooting,
Oh,
when they started telling kids, like, disobey the rules, walk
yes.
out on your class, and that was that watershed moment, and they're doing it to make everything look broken, and I think Biden being a boob is part of that.
It is, and it's. I mean, we can see even people who have maybe were born in, let's say, 2000, like the younger generation. From when you was born, from what to now, what has changed? What outside of the technological advances, etc., outside of inflation, like what has actually changed? We go Democrat, Republic, we go Labour, we go Conservative. Same doo doo, different toilet, right?
I will say this though. I think the pathocracy, so like the government that hates you,
Yeah.
the pathocracy has shown its face. And I think that the unions are demonstrating that is that and like Trump, it used to be I remember when I was a kid, it was very much about trying to bring everybody to the center and then
Mm,
battling it out at the center.
mhm.
And now it's intentionally or recklessly polarizing. People say incredibly stupid things. They piss the other side off. Hillary said the basket of deplorables, like no one would have ever said that back then.
Mm.
And then you also have the unions, railroad strikers and tube and stuff who are striking during the holidays. Like
Yes.
you would never have done that because it would lose sympathy from the people. Like you would not want to make the people who are complete innocent bystanders in all this suffer. And they're doing it. And I feel like it's all part of this pathocracy emboldening, showing its face for a reason. And I think it's to make the system look broken.
And then what would be the, problem, reaction, solution?
Exactly.
We have a broken system, guys. In
Yeah.
America, it's all crazy. We got this stuff,
Yeah.
we got left and right. Maybe Klaus Schwab.
Yes. Speaking of which, so you have a new king and he's a big pal of Klaus.
Yes.
And what's up with that? Did Queen Elizabeth really die this year? Has she been on ice like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think was? Like what was up with that? Did she
I this is
is he gonna give up the Scotland? Like what is up with that?
it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. This is all hypothesis, obviously. I can't confirm or deny. Um, you know, this land has been taken from me quite some time ago. So the Queen situation, I do think that she didn't, as it was reported, I think she had maybe transitioned maybe up to 3 days prior to that, in my humble opinion. Um, Sidebar to that, they paraded her poor body around allegedly for days, traveling it up and down the country. It, now, the logistics of that, anybody knows, unfortunately,
Right.
yeah,
No
decomposing.
chance.
There's no
Right. No
chance.
chance.
I mean,
Unless she was divine and her flesh did not rot.
well, she has alleged lineage to Muhammad, and
No way.
have you not heard that?
No, but I've heard that she's crypto Jewish or something. Like I think everybody wants to take or and she's a shape-shifting lizard.
Shapeshifting
I've heard
reptilian,
that.
as per Mr. David Icke, of course,
Who I
indeed.
interviewed the other day.
I know I need to watch that. I definitely need to watch
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Um, it's sidebar again. Please, everybody, if you can, it's difficult to find, but try and find a documentary called Ring of Power. It's very old, early thousands. It's very detailed. I had it as a 4 disc series. It's very, very long.
Really?
Yeah.
Who made it? Was it an Adam Curtis one
I
again?
don't know. It was
I
some.
don't think
I
so.
don't. It wasn't fancy at all in regard to like an intro and outro kind of thing.
Yeah.
Someone has just kind of put things together and narrated it. Um, but in essence, there's at least 2+ hours on the royal family and dynasty and stuff, and the Ben Stone and the coronation. It's very, very interesting.
So it isn't the Lord of the Rings because if you look up Ring of Power, it flips you
Oh, of course, you've got
to
to.
the Lord of the
Yeah, you probably
Rings.
gotta go into like BitChute maybe or to Rumble. You can't just do a rudimentary a Google search. Possibly, I mean, again, I watched it. I first had it in the early thousands, and I think again watched it on YouTube, maybe the mid thousands. But obviously, YouTube have gone through iterations of censorship, etc., etc. But
Yes.
I will see if I can find it if you're having difficulties
Yeah.
and get it
I'll
off to
put
you.
it in the show notes if you can get it
Yes.
to me.
Um, yeah,
So
the royal family is up in turmoil at the moment. The marketing is going out. Um, we've got the documentary which I'm not going to watch yet. I think I'm gonna because I've just been too busy. I have been so busy, but I will be watching that Harry and Meghan Markle thing. I'll have a look at that. But there's been so many distractions. there was a recent distraction highlighted to again to cause division, separation, and to distract us from this whole um, Charles, Prince Charles. I don't call him King
Oh,
Charles.
yes.
I don't call him King Charles.
Chucky 3, Chucky 3, that's what I
Yeah,
call it.
yeah.
'Cause it just reminds me of, like, that horror movie where the little baby doll was like, like
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna
exactly.
play? I love that.
Exactly. So I just feel like he's, like, in part 3. And, yeah, so do you think that they're lizards, or do they run the world, or,
They are very powerful. She's the biggest,
yeah,
according to many different sources. She's the biggest land owner, in the world.
like,
Like,
in the world,
yeah,
yeah, and that's all you need, really,
exactly. Like, come
you
on, it's
know?
we pay. I think it is like 3 pence or 2 pence out of the pound goes to the to the royal family. Oh yeah, oh
Whoa!
yeah, 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 yeah,
Wow!
yeah,
Holy cow, man.
yeah.
Wow. That I mean, who could be above that?
Well,
Who could be above that?
think about it. It's all about
Congool.
if we go back 300 years, she had a sheriff running around with swords, going to people's homesteads, demanding money on a regular basis, goats,
Mm.
money, silver, whatever the hell, and then she
Mhm.
would take that. Things have progressed, you know.
Well, she got it all.
Except she got it all, and she wants more.
Yeah.
The
Dang.
world.
See, that's the difference. We don't, I mean, I don't know what the real backstory is here. Maybe there is a cult, whatever. But for us, because we didn't have feudalism, we stole it
Mm,
from the people who lived here. That's
mhm,
for sure.
mhm.
But then it became like transferable title, and we just did
Yes.
not have that. But I go to the squares in London, and it's like named after the baron or whatever, the
Yes.
lord who still owns it, because they do those 99-year leases. So it's
Mhm.
like feudal lords still own like this incredibly expensive real estate in London, and you can't even buy a lot of times you can't actually buy the apartment. It's a leasehold.
Leasehold, exactly. It is. That's why I stay far away from London. It's nice to go to travel and to see like the museums and stuff and the architecture. There is some beautiful architecture down in London, and there's some beautiful people down there. But just how they've got it set up, you can be on Mayfair and go 2 streets down, and you're in a ghetto, a quote unquote ghetto full of predominantly brown people mixed with other underprivileged well, what's happening now is within those areas all of the immigrants go there, so all these people coming in on boats, they don't go to anywhere else but to where the quote unquote minorities are, to cause
Hmm.
more confusion, to clash cultures even
Yeah.
further.
Yeah. It is definitely a chaotic scene. I was there recently, and it did not it looked like a world city. Like, that was my impression. I felt like if you watch Star Trek or whatever, and
Mhm.
there's some, planetary outpost, and you see people from different planets, and there's no one particular planet represented, and they're
Yes.
all drinking different things and speaking different languages. And I mean, it was cool. Like, for me, I love it because I have I don't live there, and I don't know what problems emerge from that. But it looked to me, I was like, oh, they, capital T, they, or Queen Elizabeth or
Yeah.
whoever did it, just gave London to the world.
Yeah.
They gave it to the world, and
Yeah.
there it is. And it's just a world city, and it might as well be its own, it might as well be like the Vatican or Singapore, like just a city state of its
Well,
own, an
with
isolated island of transit or something.
within London itself, as you know, there is the City of London, which is
Oh yeah. Oh, we drove through that, and I recognized immediately. I was like, this
yeah.
I just feel Goldman Sachs. Like, I just,
Yes.
you just drove through it, and it was like completely clean and
Yes.
peaceful and whatever. And I asked the cab driver, I was like, is this the city of London? And he's like, yes, they have their own police force, and you can't
Yeah.
even see the tops of the buildings. And it was
Mm.
so clear that you just stepped over.
Different coat of arms that they have once you're entering into the City of London. The police have red accents on their stuff rather than just the checkered
It's
Masonic
like
stuff.
The Capitol Police, like, it's just a whole different, or DC, it's just like a world city, yeah, yeah, or an enclave of this
Yes.
power center, and that's when you know. And I used to be an investment banker, like, I did work on Wall Street, and I had a friend who worked at Goldman Sachs, and I was the first time I went into a building where you couldn't there were no buttons on the elevator. You would walk into the elevator, and you had to ask somebody, tell them where you're going, and they would program the elevator so that you could go
Wow.
there and only there, and, it was super creepy, but these are people I knew and liked. They weren't, like, didn't think of themselves as running the world, but they
Indeed.
were all insanely rich because when they make investments, maybe not
Yes.
Goldman, but when they get, like, they don't even have to pay income tax on some of it. It's called this carry thing. It's that I don't wanna go down that
Yeah.
road, but okay.
Yeah.
So, let's I want to know from your perspective some foreign affairs, like obviously Ukraine war. I would love to get your overview on what the purpose of that is,
Okay.
and some regime change stuff like Kazakhstan, Iran. That seems to be heating up, and I wonder if you are getting more news than we are.
Well, let's go backwards. I'm not hearing much at all about that. The Iran Kazakhstan stuff. I think that has bled across be- based upon the first part, which would be Ukraine and Russia. Kazakhstan, again, this is all part of the Soviet Union, right? So
Right,
it,
right.
it just seems that we're having little distractions put here. Iran, obviously, there was that false propaganda put out about 15,000 protesters are going to be beheaded, etc., etc., which I found shocking. And this is a highlight for everybody. You wake up and oh my God, what on earth is this on my Twitter feed, or what on earth is this on my
Yeah,
Instagram feed? And you're looking through it and you think, oh my, that's terrible. You read which someone has carefully manicured and put stuff over, and it has clearly taken some time to put this together. And then I thought, okay, this seems worthy enough for me to investigate. And I started to investigate, and within 5 minutes, it came up that it was a hoax led by bloody Justin Trudeau and another an actress or something like that who put tweets out about this. And it's we've got to be careful. We've got to be really careful with the information that we're ingesting and then retweeting.
and there's no repercussions for that kind of thing. Like when Elon Musk tweeted stuff a couple of years ago that literally like changed the stock price of Tesla so that individuals lost a lot of money, like that kind of thing. I think when the Nikola guy, so there's another company called Nikola, when he did something like that, I think he was just convicted on like whatever it is, some kind of fraud or crime or whatever. I don't know if he goes to jail for it, but he was like brought up on charges, tried and convicted or pled out, I don't know, but nothing, just a slap on the wrist for these like created persons to say stuff like that. People aren't, horrified that they're lying and causing real problems and spreading misinformation, just depending on if you're on high and doing it for some sanctioned reason or not.
Everyone has an agenda, and we need to understand, and understand what is the real agenda. People say a lot, but what are their actions and deeds? So this goes across the board, media, this goes to presidents, this goes to Elon Musk. They talk a lot of stuff, they tweet a lot of stuff, but what are they actually doing? Neuralink? Come on, people.
I know, Neuralink is so fun. Like he's gonna put chips in your brain, right? And Tesla is totally underwritten by the US government to the tune of billions and billions of
Yes,
dollars. I mean, they chose him.
it's obvious, and he made
And
his
Twitter
money.
now.
Oh my gosh, Twitter. Pay from PayPal. Didn't he make his money from PayPal, was it?
I think so, yeah, I think that was his original thing, and then Facebook, I think they slid him into gave him a bunch of, like, basically free stock in Facebook.
It's
Was he
it's
the Yeah, he was the PayPal guy, and then someone well, one was eBay, like that, Omidyar, or one was eBay and one was PayPal. I'm
mhm.
looking it up.
They're chosen. They're part of a I mean, don't get it wrong. I think some people can kind of sneak in, like I think what we now 2022, 10 years ago, there was all the Illuminati, Jay-Z's Illuminati, Rihanna's Illuminati, all of these music selling you soul for the Illuminati and all that. Again, that was kind of distractions of sorts. But people are willing to do the most unspeakable things, not have any morals because they want to have trinkets. They want to have access to maybe private jets. They want a lifestyle which they don't have. I understand that, but you as an individual have to realize that that lifestyle has been marketed to you. Generally driving around, flying in private jets is reserved for very rich people, business people. Why would you need to? It'd be cool. Don't get me wrong. I would like to go on a private jet,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna like sell my soul, quote unquote. I'm not gonna debase and take away my moral stance to get money to enable me to do that.
And that kind of thing, I think, creates, and this is like, it goes from east to west, yoga to Catholicism. When you focus on those kind of desires, on satisfying your desires,
Yeah.
it's like if you drink too much and it just builds up a tolerance, or smoke too much pot or whatever. Like you build up a tolerance and then you need to actually consume more just to get
Mm,
normal. And then to get that zingy thrill that you would have gotten originally from that cool thing, you have to level up and level up. That's why your marriages break down, your girls get younger, they start doing, I mean, really, it can get crazier and crazier to the point where I do now believe, I did not used to believe it, but I do now believe that at some level, the thrill only comes from doing things that normal people could never do, that are illegal
yes.
or immoral. And then you have like kiddie stuff, or human hunting parties were one
Yeah.
thing, or like that Arab sheik or whatever prince who got convicted of, I think, beating his manservant with
Yes.
a like a piece of wood with nails in it.
Nails
Like
in it.
you
Yeah.
can just get away with anything, and you do because that's how you feed this ego. So I personally think the seeds of unhappiness are sown into that. It's a trap. Just like I was saying before, like your trap of like working and the treadmill, and then the progressive taxes like make you bizarrely work harder, and you really, until you're exhausted, and then you retire, and yeah, you're lucky if you get your place in the sun, but
Indeed. We need to clip
yeah,
that. We
that's it.
need to clip that. That is so important that because it at a young age, again, the marketing is done so overtly and subtly at the same time that it's, well, I can't just settle for a 30,000K job or a 70,000K. No. I need to be. I need to see people to see me. I need to have a McLaren. I need to have the most beautiful surgically operated woman, on this earth. I need everything that I can see.
And you know what's impossible about it? This is the thing that makes it impossible, is that the people who are put in those ads, the people who you see like that,
Yeah.
are young and beautiful.
Hmm.
And if you want a McLaren, if you didn't weren't born with one and you want one, it's going to take until you're old to
Yes.
achieve those goals. And then you can't have it anymore. Like you aren't young. You can never be the thing that you were working to be, because it's over for you. So you can then, that's when I think like you get into the eyes wide shut stuff, where you have these guys who do achieve that through whatever means,
Yes.
and then it's almost like they want to consume that youth and these women,
Hmm.
like they have,
Hmm.
because I was always like, what, she's just with you for your money, right? Like, how does this
Yes.
feel satisfying to you? And I think it feels satisfying to them for that reason. Like
Yes.
they earned it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like
Sick.
yeah, it's
He owns her.
massive. Yeah, this is it. It's the ego being stroked on the level that if I didn't have this money, she wouldn't be here. But I don't care about the
Yeah.
moral implications of that. I've got the
Yeah.
money, and I can say I can click my fingers, and she's gonna drop it
Yes.
like it's hot, quote unquote. you know.
Yeah, like I could buy this person. I don't even have to earn it. Like that's the thing, is like I feel like the love and respect of someone I love and respect is the highest purpose in this life for me. Like it's extremely satisfying to me, and it's very rich, and you can be content. So like you don't have to keep working at it. But they don't want to work at it at all. They like the idea that they can just buy it. I think that's something that we don't understand. But that's what disturbs me about all that imagery, is coupled with the youth, that if you just, it cannot be achieved. that combination cannot be intentionally
Of
achieved.
course not. And here's a perfect example: Housewives of Beverly Hills, Housewives of Miami, all of that. Look, a lot of like, you've got those doctor surgeon guys, and they're literally finding women. And look, let's be balanced. From a lower chakra point, I totally get it. You're a middle-aged man. It didn't work out with the first wife or whatever it is. She's a pretty young maid, boss woman or whatever. That's it. Okay, I find you attractive. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make you the woman that I want you to be. So I'm going to cut into you. I'm going to put this
Yeah.
into you. I'm going to put that into you. And these women are just like, oh my God, I found my Prince Charming. He wants to make me beautiful, and he's going to give me thousands of pounds or dollars, etc. And it's the idea of selling. Hmm. I don't think they're selling themselves, but at that point they know that they're selling themselves to maintain this lifestyle. They're doing all kind of deplorable acts with their friends, their husband's friends, to keep him satisfied. Yeah, they're doing all types of stuff.
This is something that that same German guy told me about, and I didn't really fully understand it because I think it was more of a European thing. And he said these nouveau riche guys find the girl who looks like what he wants her to look like, and then he makes her be what he wants her to be.
Yes.
So he makes her learn French or whatever, and he creates her in his own, sculpts her out of whatever. And I never realized that before until I did start seeing it here. And I don't cannot watch those shows because people demeaning themselves like
Yes.
upsets me. Like I
Yeah.
don't like that at all.
Mm.
And I think consider it demeaning just to fight in front of people on purpose. Like it's just so ugh.
And it's so
And yeah,
unladylike. It is so and
yeah.
especially for what's the term now? It's African American women. They seem to be the forefront for debauchery, foul language, fighting. There's everything negative. Everything negative.
Yeah. And it's so unnecessary. So they pick on purpose
Mm,
that kind of a scene. They'll find somebody got rich through no, whether it's sports or music, but it didn't require the kind of maturity and
yes.
cultivation that like someone who accomplished, in academia or in business.
Mhm.
So it selects for the kind of trashiest of that, but you can't see that, right? So you think, oh, this you don't see that there were other options.
And yeah, that's the thing. They blur the line. So there's not an option. There's just one way. It's a straight road. There's no
Yes.
left turns. There's no right turns. It's just one way. You gotta just do out thou will be the whole of the
Yes.
law.
And this is how they establish again the aspiration. So they tell kids, do you ever watch Boondocks? Have I asked you this?
No, I haven't. You
Oh
have,
my
but no, I
gosh.
haven't. No,
Yes.
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
It's pretty, I mean, it's shocking. Like it's shocking, but it's deep. It doesn't look deep. It doesn't appear deep on the
Yes.
surface, but it's deep. And there's so the two kids, one is an intellectual and one is wants to be a rapper or whatever. And
Mhm.
you can see that the kid who wants to be a rapper, he just fantasizes about, gold chains and
Yes.
cheap women, and that's his aspiration. So how is he ever going to focus on something meaningful? And then at the same time, someone who is focused on the meaningful is absolutely never going to engage in that kind of uh, expose of their personal lives. I mean, it's disrespectful. Anybody with some class isn't going to
Yeah.
do it. So you're not
Yeah.
going to see the classy people. But because, like you were saying, breaking down barriers and boundaries. Okay, so I'm a white woman in LA, and I know that the housewives of Beverly Hills are just not the people at my soccer game,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
But I don't know if the black rappers' wives in a neighborhood in Atlanta I never go to. Oh well, that everybody's like that there.
Mm.
Like you
Mhm.
just you because you're not experiencing the bigger pool. That then
Yes.
represents the only exposure you have
Thank you.
to that,
Mhm.
and it's just that's very damaging. And I agree, it's totally deliberate. And I see it with women too. Like when the Triple G fight, I don't know if you remember the
Yes.
first Canelo Triple G
Yes.
They pinned that on it was
I know.
completely rigged. I was at the fight. So, I wasn't being brainwashed by Max Kellerman the whole time. I was at the fight. It was on Mexican Independence Day, and they booed Canelo
Hmm?
because it was so clearly yes, it was not cool. And they pinned that on the female judge. And I was like, it's like you're black chancellor of the exchequer. It's like, yes, because you're never going to say, and Max Kellerman was like, she probably had a bad day. I'm like, oh, do you think she was, that time of the month?
That's
Is
I
that what you're
knew it.
literally saying? Like, are you fucking
Oh,
kidding me? So they do that. And the same thing with your UK. I noticed that your PM. I noticed that too. So okay, so what about the Ukraine war? What do you think
oh
is so
yeah.
that started in February?
Hmm.
What do you think is the end game there? Why do you think that was it a complete setup? Is Putin a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Are we
Well,
headed to World War III? What's going on?
I think we're currently in World War Three, in my humble opinion, since 1991, Iraq. I think that was the start of New World War Three. So we're currently in a World War
Oh,
state.
wait. You said what now? Say
90,
that date again.
1991, the Iraq War, that is the start of the World War Three.
Okay, so my uncle was a priest, and he was like my mother said he was a mystic. Like he could communicate. Yeah, I know, weird, right? And he said to me, like he's been dead a long time, but he wasn't dead when he said this to me. He said to me that in the 90s, he said World War III will start in the first year of the new millennium in the Middle East. And then 9/11 happened on September 11th, 2001, which is the first year of the new millennium because
Yes.
2000 was the last year.
Hmm.
And he said it was prophesied. And I never heard anybody think of World War III as having started then, except for I always thought that. I was like, maybe that was really the start of World War III.
That would be another interesting date wise and numerologically wise. That makes perfect sense. I just say 1991 because it was just an awful kind of situation. I've got friends who served over there, and they came back like, yeah, worse for wear to
Yeah.
say the least. Uh,
Yes, yes, yes.
it's the war now. So I'm not going to go into that because I'll be into that for ages. So the
Yeah, yeah,
war in
okay.
Ukraine. Um, Ukraine, sorry, and Russia. That is, in my opinion, the expansion of NATO and the European Union. They obviously, Soviet Union no longer, Russia still a very big superpower. Putin, he's doing. I don't trust any of these so-called leaders per se. Um, I think that they are. I think they've got autonomy to a point. I think the lesser of two evils. I don't even like to even use that even terminology, but he seems to be doing a little bit better than his Western counterparts. They just want this one world. Let's just go for it. A one world order where the rule of the jungle will not be. I forgot what his line was now, senior. But that's what they want.
Yes.
NATO and the European Union is part of that. NAFTA and all of they're just trying to encroach and take away the national sovereignty of all
Yeah.
countries to put them under one ownership. Oh, okay, yeah, you're still doing that, but you don't have your own pesos no more. There's no yen. There's none of that stuff. We're just gonna have euros. We're just gonna have euros everywhere, and you're gonna trade like that. And we're gonna dictate to you certain policies, how you can drive your vehicles, and working hours, and that kind of stuff. And this is gonna get more draconian and draconian and draconian.
Yeah. Ian Davis, who is an English guy I talk to
The
fairly regularly.
petrochemical guy. He was a
That would be
petrochemical. Is it? No, no. It's Ian
was he?
Crane.
No.
That's Ian
Yeah.
Crane.
No,
Yeah.
Ian Davis writes for Off Guardian. He also contributes, I think, to Unlimited Hangout. And he had a series I talked to him about called The Multipolar World Order. And the idea is that, and I think he doesn't, he reaches back in a history and cites facts and stuff that we all are familiar with. But I just like the way he puts a point on it, which is, You can go back to the Trilateral Commission, which is the
Yes.
trilateral, like the three columns, basically,
Yes.
the world is divided. And he said it's really just always been a march to the interim point, which is regionalization.
Mm,
And then, like I've always said, they just go to the two, Atlantic and the Pacific, and they just zip it up, that they're
yes.
just going to zip it up at some point. But right now, he feels like this kind of pullback from pure globalization is just a retrenching in the regionalized, and then you're going to have, and I'm starting to think like we're going to have the CBDCs, but maybe Bitcoin is back there for the world currency. Like, I don't know, I'm wondering how that's all going to play together.
No.
But as you
Yeah.
mentioned, that we all have one, like the same money, that will probably you'll probably I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be regional, like 3 regional currencies
Exactly.
before. Yeah,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, yeah.
Amero has been spoken about for many of years. I haven't really spoke about
Oh,
it for a while. So that
yeah,
was supposed to be
right.
for North America and I guess South America. I think that was for the
Yeah,
Americas in essence.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Euro for the European and for Oceania. I can't remember what that one was going to
Oh,
be.
no, this yes, the Americas, I noticed as soon as Biden got into office and assassinated the Haitian
Oh
president.
gosh.
I'm assuming it was him because he had caught people in a coup to assassinate
Yes.
him,
Yes.
and then he was assassinated a month after Biden took office. I remember thinking he's ceding the ground globally as a global leader, but what they seem to be doing is reasserting regional hegemony for the United States in the Americas, North and South. And I hadn't thought about that since Biden came into office. Then I was noticing a lot of signs in that regard. And I just didn't put it together with what Ian Davis was saying and what you're saying about the money.
Mhm.
Yes, definitely North and South America for sure. So I always think of the North American Union, it will be the
Yes.
American Union, I guess.
100%. And I'm wondering, I'm
Interesting.
thinking that they will encapsulate the Caribbean islands with that.
Yeah,
So we would
I
have
would think so.
because currently,
Cuba,
exactly.
everything.
Yes,
Whoosh,
that's it.
everything,
That's it. Yeah.
everything.
I mean,
Haiti.
yeah, Haiti, indeed, indeed. The bastion was a bastion of liberation of independence, but France put some terrible sanctions on that poor island, and then potential military operations prior to this huge earthquake, which sent
Oh,
in
totally.
sounded like a bomb to me. I don't
Yeah,
think that was
definitely.
flipping
Yeah,
a natural disaster.
no
But,
way.
I can only hypothesize. I can't put people in courts.
That's what Build Back Better, that was the first use of that expression, was after the Haitian earthquake.
Oh, God. Who said
Yeah.
that? Was that Hillary and them?
It was Clinton.
Yeah.
Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, he was the guy. But yeah, that's when Bill Clinton and George Bush, like bitter
Yes.
enemies, but of course they
Yes.
weren't, came together to, I think, oversee any petroleum resources that might be under there or whatever it was.
Mm.
I don't know. But yeah, that was absolutely fishy. Okay, so there's another item from 2022 that I do not know what to make of. I think it might be, as I rarely use this word because I'm not 100% sure I know what it means, but I think the word would be banal, that Shinzo Abe was assassinated just to get a certain result in the election the next week, and I can't think of any other reason. But wasn't that crazy that Shinzo Abe was assassinated and there wasn't really even
Was
that
that the
much?
was that the public execution guy? The one that got shot with
Yes, and
with
yes, and he had been the president of Japan
yes.
for a long
A
time.
long
Abenomics, yeah.
time, and it came into the media for 3 hours and left
Yes.
as quickly as
And it
that.
was crazy looking, and you saw the whole thing,
Yeah.
live. It was like a gun held together by duct tape. I mean,
Duct
it was the
tape, it was a
craziest thing.
it really I didn't I was seeing this video and I was thinking, "Who is this guy?" Because I didn't there was no titles to it. I was just getting sent this video and I'm thinking, "Well, who's been shot?
Yeah,
And why have they used, like, some kinda improvised kind of gun? It looks really strange, like, this is
right.
fishy. What on earth's" and then I saw another video and you could see he's clearly been shot. Because initially I just thought, "Oh, this is one
Yeah,
of those videos," But then when I
it
saw the
didn't look
blood and
real.
stuff, no, it didn't look real, that's it. That's what I thought initially. And then regime change? It's clearly regime change, but for what purpose? This is the thing I was digging and digging, and I'm trying to think, well, of course they're going to install their own person, but Like, what's the
That
driving purpose?
I think that was just there was some his whole party was, I guess it was a big election, like a bunch of legislators were being elected, and I don't know if there were constitutional reforms or some kind of decision point where they would go towards one policy
Mhm.
um shift or the other. And obviously I think you would call it neoliberal, like the neoliberal thing.
Yes.
And then because of his assassination, that his party sailed to victory, and that was it. Like that seemed to be the entire point of that, just that simple little, well, this is one way we can get elected. It's like,
Yeah,
oh wow, that's
you've
cold.
it's cold, and as you say, so we've got Japanese Prime Minister, we've got the Haitian Prime Minister, and then we've got another, was it four African presidents who
Oh, at least there's like 50 guys in Africa who got taken out because of COVID. Like there's an article like in a a reputable academic portal saying, why are so many African leaders dying in a variety of ways.
exactly, yeah, and but a lot of them were executed in essence. It wasn't like, we're gonna get an umbrella with that poison stuff in it and jab someone as they're walking like they
Yes.
used to do in the 80s.
Yes.
Old
A heart
school, man.
attack dart.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it.
No,
Um,
nothing.
things have advanced. It's I think people, and this is just interacting with some of the lemmings and the sheep, in my day-to-day activity. People are staring, and some of them are doing a lot more than staring, and they're angry. They know. I don't think they fully know the big and wider picture, but they know this two-party system is foolishness. It's folly, but I don't think they're angry enough. I don't think they've been pushed into the corner enough. Like when you corner an animal, and at some point he's gonna bite you, isn't he? So I
I
don't
know,
think.
but if you want him to bite you,
Yeah.
they will direct who is bitten.
Okay. Now the question is, and this is so simple in my humble opinion. I've said it so many times. I've said it since 2012, I think it was. Non-compliance. We don't need
Yeah.
to do. We don't need to do anything except for not take part in this system, withdraw from the system. It does take literally, I said a day, but I think it would be like a wave of people doing it. If we all did it simultaneously, it could happen in one day. It would take a week.
You know what? The first thing that would have to happen, there's only one thing that would have to happen before that. And it would be, you would have to free yourself from desire.
Oh gosh.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you couldn't do it if you still desired. I mean, maybe you
Yes.
don't desire a McLaren,
Mhm.
but you might desire, an M3. You might
Exactly.
desire. And if you desire and you've worked
Yeah.
hard and you feel like
Yeah.
you've got some credits in the bank towards your
Yeah.
M3, you
Mm,
might just keep
yeah.
plugging along, especially if they back off. Okay, okay, we'll let you elect Ron DeSantis or whatever,
Yes.
like just
I think
don't quit.
Yeah, I think that's 25% of the population because we're never, the wonders of humanity is that we all have different agendas. This is the key thing. We all have different agendas. Now, I think, just look at using percentage, 25% are like, I totally get it, Monica. Noble, I get it. I want it now, man. Like, I can't wait for us to do all that stuff. And then once we've got it all sorted, then the remnants of it, like maybe I can
Yeah.
get my M3 then in like 5 years. I want it now, man. Look at it. I can get the competition pack, man. I'm going to spend another 20 grand on upgrades, man. Come on.
On credit,
There we
you can
go,
borrow it.
Monica.
Yeah.
This is the whole. I don't know if it's the same in America, but in England, you can literally go on, like, let's say, for instance, Walmart, Target. Now, within, say you see a product for, let's say, $29 plus your sales tax, right? So that will bring you up to what, maybe $35 or so. And there'll be some options. It will normally say like just add to basket. And maybe if the store you're shopping in has their own credit facility in there, usually it wouldn't be for that kind of low value, but apparently times have changed. So I'm noticing now that you have like three or four different ways that you can pay. So you can pay cash, you can you can use their own credit facility to spread the payments of a £35 product over a 3 or 6 month payment plan. And then you've got these ones called calamari or something, these apps or
Yeah.
something, these companies, and you can just literally, I'm sure there must be a minimum spend, but you can spread the payments on everything now, Monica.
Yeah, I accidentally, like, clicked on the wrong thing and they started sucking me into signing up for one of those things. Yeah, it is I have not seen any kind of minimum, like, it is a tiny, tiny amounts they suggest you can pay over 4 months, and then the other thing that's been popping up too is another this thing costs $3.50, but you could pay $3.60 if you want what I call green fees. You can just reduce your carbon footprint by that, whereas somebody from Sweden, Ronnie Snellman, said that you could it's that you get a discount for using the thing with the lower carbon footprint. I think that's an interesting cultural distinction, is that
Mm,
we opt to pay more
yeah,
in order to get our green virtue feeling,
exactly.
but there they'll say you could pay a little bit less if you take the greener option.
Indeed.
That's just weird. But yeah, so I noticed both of those things at checkout now, which were not true 1 year ago.
It's again, so this is everything's on credit. Everything's push yourself to the limit. Buy everything on your credit cards. When those are maxed out, oh, don't worry about that. You can just click on this and blah blah blah. What we're in a financial crash at the moment. We're in, it's going to be hyperinflation very soon. We're paying, Monica, my utility bills have gone up 3 times.
Oh
Have
wow.
tripled. They have tripled
Wow.
in 1 year.
They blame Ukraine.
Now, here's the weird thing. Ukraine's the problem. Now, when I look at my gas bill, now not stupid, clearly, so I would always fix my rates. But strangely enough, Monica, some people haven't, and they're on variable price plans. That's another story. So I look at my bill and I examine it, and it shows me that the gas is cheaper than the electricity. And electricity is the one that's gone up the most. I'm paying like what I would pay for my gas and electricity in one whole year, Monica, is what I am paying for in just electricity.
Wow. Yeah. And that has nothing, right? That's probably
Yeah,
nuclear. You probably have nuclear.
I think we've got three, maybe four nuclear plants still active. They're apparently supposed to be building another one. Um, yeah, it's
Well, I noticed too, I did a deep dive this year on the gasoline prices because Biden kept saying it was Russia. And I thought that can't be true, because as long as anyone is buying the Russian oil and gas and they're selling all that they have into the market,
mhm,
the other, they're fungible commodities. Like the other
yes,
places should just be able to buy them at what it would be market. You know what I mean? It doesn't
exactly.
matter
Hmm.
unless they're completely cordoned off. And so in my research, the number one reason for gasoline prices having spiked was that our refineries have been steadily declining. I think we have 25% as many refineries for regular gasoline than we had in the 80s, and
Now,
they're moving the
is that
older ones over. Yeah. What?
sorry, is that due to them closing these refineries down, or
Yeah. So as the refineries are requiring expensive maintenance, they're getting ahead of that, closing them down and like beginning the process of converting them to biofuels. But in the interim period, it wasn't even just converting them to biofuels, it was just taking them offline because they weren't worth the maintenance. I guess because they saw the writing on the wall, or regulatory requirements made them impractical. So it was definitely systemic, outside things, and either policy or the green future, whatever, or anticipated policy, either one, that made that refinery number go way, way down. And then during COVID, when you had 2 years in some places, in LA for sure, everything was totally shut down. Things that would have been kind of mothballed over the next 3 to 5 years, they just didn't restart them up. So there was like a step down that a lot of them just did not restart after COVID. So the first time we had like a peak season for gasoline, I guess is in the summer or something, then as soon as that happened, they all of a sudden realized that there was a shortage, and with people actually not only going back to previous levels of driving, but increased levels of driving, like a rebound effect, and not even thinking about gas prices to make their plans different. They didn't have to adjust. So that's where I came out with all of that, and they just blamed Ukraine. I was like, I don't think so. But it gave them a
No,
good excuse to not take
yeah.
responsibility for policies that were really disruptive.
It just seems like it's planned obsolescence of sorts.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
like
yeah.
we want to destroy this. I mean, oh, let's tell everyone when you're growing up, if you're born like in the 70s and stuff, that oil is finite and it's made by plants and dinosaurs being
Dinosaurs.
squashed up, loads and loads of pressure, and it makes this, and it's going to run out in a certain period, hence
Right.
the peak oil scandal. And then all of a sudden, last year, they come out and say it's renewable. Yes, the Earth.
Oh, they're not saying that here. The Russians always said that, I think.
No, I'm sure I've seen it on US media to say that they've said that
Really?
yeah. They've come out and admitted it now that yes, it's
Really?
yes.
I mean, it didn't make
Breaking
sense to me because diamonds are made so far in the earth that they couldn't be squished up dinosaurs. And if diamonds aren't, then coal doesn't have to be, oil, like it's geologic, in my opinion.
yes.
But
This is it. This is what I don't like to use this term, but it's universal. Mother Nature does her thing, and her thing is to have molten lava, which is underneath the crust of the earth. And there is
yes.
also natural
Nice.
gases, there's methane, there's
Yes.
oil, and this is
Yeah.
just produced just like our body produces what? Blood and water
Yeah.
and like
She's the bomb.
real zany, isn't it? We
She's
wouldn't think that.
great.
I guess because people are quite into this science stuff, they think that Earth is just an inanimate object. It's just a rock.
Speaking of science and a rock, is anybody driving around on Mars, or
Oh
what do you think about
gosh.
that?
It's money laundering at its highest.
Yes, yes.
It's just like I don't know. I mean, maybe if I didn't have any morals and stuff, I would want to get involved in this never a straight answer kind of company and stuff. Um, we, in my opinion, and based upon many scientists, and I do know there are, you can get 100 scientists and 50 will say one thing and 50 will say the opposing thing. So I get it. It just depends on where you lie. We ain't going nowhere past this, like the air, outer stratosphere. Get out of here. And also, why? What? Wait a minute. LA has a huge problem for homelessness. The whole world has a huge problem of
Right.
homelessness. Yeah, we have people who are that broke that they have to go to a council building, Monica, to stay warm. They're called warm spaces. They've introduced them in the last like 3 months, no, 2 months in England, and they've got cups of tea, so you don't even need to use your own tea and coffee. So you go to this council building, you huddle up, and it's a warm place. You can have your tea, and then you go back home and use your own electricity because of the prices. The council have also shut buildings down because they can't afford the heating to heat the buildings. So that is yeah, it's just like is this idiocracy playing out again?
Yes. And then they spend money on space programs.
Yes, it makes so much sense, does it? And then,
Yeah.
what Monica, right? We're making serious moves. Even though what you have in your pocket, everybody, you have a mobile phone. It's now called a smartphone. It has more computing power than the computers that sent up Buzz Aldrin and those guys. One small step for man,
And and they lost. They lost all the science. They lost the pictures, they lost everything. I
and it's
mean,
yeah. It's you can't make this stuff up. I mean, you really can't. But people are eating it up, and they want seconds. Oh, Monica, I love sci-fi and stuff, and they're saying they're going to the moon. Maybe I can. I wonder if I can stay alive long enough, and I can go to Mars. Wouldn't that be cool? And I can see some Martians. They-
Yep, and I actually saw the one of the a couple of the SpaceX rockets take off over my house. So I
wow.
see them going up there, and I do think there are satellites, that I do think. Like, they launch
Okay.
things into the orbit, I think.
Question.
I mean,
Question.
I'm confident they do that, but I see them go up, and then
Oh yes.
you can see the Earth pulling away, so I also think the Earth is round, a sphere, but I will say if you look up Devon Island, which is the largest uninhabited island on Earth, if I'm not mistaken, it's off Canada maybe, and it is where they practice landing on Mars. They literally practice on Devon Island, and if you look at the pictures of Mars and Devon Island, it's, like, amazing how similar they are. It's, like, really amazing, like, I would call it unbelievably similar.
Is it
Like
uncanny? Is it an uncanny
it's
resemblance?
uncanny resemblance. Devon Island, Devon, and once you start looking at the pictures, like, it's hard not to laugh. And it's a shame because I do live near, like, the NASA, JPL, all this stuff. I know people who work on that stuff, and I don't they are definitely working on science they
Of course.
believe in. Yeah, like,
Right.
they're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I just there is a complete, like, ceiling of information in my opinion, and they anytime it gets out what I really think, like, and I little league game or whatever,
Yes.
it's I'm just totally wanna hide behind a tree
I
because they
know.
think I'm an absolute lunatic,
Looney.
and it's
Yes.
hard to, like, look in their face and, like, think that it's true, but I can't look at the pictures of Devon Island
I
and Mars
can't.
and not see the evidence before my own eyes.
That's part of science to observe and to repeat, an experiment. Also, experience is one of the best teachers. If you could visually see something and there's a like let's just think about it. Let's use our imaginations. We're on
Yeah,
Earth and there's Pluto, Mars, there's the moon and all that. How would it be a similar like I can't picture Mars looking anything like Earth.
it's
I can't.
identical.
Yes, I just don't. I can't. I do not get it. And then the pressure of space. Here's a question for all of the science. Trust you, just one of your listeners will be able to comment on this. Space is a vacuum, so like, how do we move? How do we propel an object with zero gravity? So the example I'm going to use is if I wanted to if I wanted to dive into a swimming pool, I would have to push off something, wouldn't I? Alternatively, I'd have to jump in the air and allow quote unquote gravity to pull me back down into the water. So if we're in space, where's the where's the point that they're pushing off from where they can
Yeah.
actually move anyway?
So even thrusters that make you push forward, it's a push. It's pushing.
It's
What's the
opposite
opposite
forces.
reaction? Yeah.
Exactly, because we've got this density and oxygen and that chemical makeup here to be able to utilize that here on this plane of existence. Up there, it is a vacuum. It is a vacuum. I
Good
just can't
point.
get it in my head how anything's moving anywhere with the technology we've got.
Well, that brings up the one thing that makes me absolutely I cannot get my mind around the moon landing is that it's like, okay, so you sent a rocket to the moon and then it kind of floated around the moon while somebody shot down to the surface and then beamed back up, got into it again, and then it came home. Like I just can't imagine how that's possible. And you're not helping.
And who put the camera down? Who put
Oh,
that
I
camera?
know, I know, I know. That's a good one. And, like, they're there, like, why not look at the stars and just be like, "Wow, for the first time in human history, we have this, another point of reference for,
Yes.
to look at the stars," and,
Yeah.
nobody thought to turn the camera up to the
And it's a
stars.
wonderful thing. The imagination's a wonderful thing growing up, and I still enjoy sci-fi stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I really like with all of the research and the people, the scientists, the doctors, or the informed people I speak to. It just seems like it crushes the imagination of sorts of what we thought was possible. But at the same time, it makes us makes me realize of how special we are and what a special place that we're at that that they've all of this web of deceit and rabbit holes are put all here to take us away from this beautiful place, and who we are as beautiful people. Not everybody obviously, but um and just externalize everything. Oh, Earth's crap, man. You've been Earth, man. Pluto, man. Forget Mars. Actually, let's go to Pluto. I want to go there. I want a Pluto woman or something like that.
Maybe that's why they're doing such terrible things in the atmosphere with the spraying and everything. Maybe they want us to not love Eden.
Mm,
Do you see the chemtrails all the time over your house?
of course,
Yeah,
of course.
it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
So I've got two that I've completely overdone. I wanted to talk about FTX, Musk, and Twitter just real quick because I've
Yes.
overdone that. And then I have uh one
Did
last thing from 2022 after. So
Okay.
like let's do FTX, Musk, Twitter, anything you have to say about any of that.
Well, let's do the Moss thing because I'm a lot more familiar with that. The
Good.
FTX, I find that cryptocurrency stuff very
Yeah.
complex.
Yes.
I understand the basics of it, and it just seems like some kind of huge Ponzi scheme he in essence running.
I'll tell you just in one paragraph, one sentence, what I think about that. It's like, I think that they're making you look at all those complexities. And I think the whole entire thing was a psyop from the beginning. And I think they all knew and intended it to crash, and that they're doing it as a service to the world so that crypto can be regulated. I think they think that they're
Mm,
these unsung heroes. I've done like 2 hours worth of deep dives on it. So that's my idea about FTX. You don't have to get lost in the weeds of crypto, in my opinion. But yeah,
yes.
that's all we need to say about that. And then, yes, but I want to hear what you think about Musk and Twitter.
Elon Musk and
Yeah.
Twitter. Wonderful marketing, and another excellent business proposition. This guy has a lot more money than sense. I think he's clearly on the spectrum, just like potentially
Yes, yes,
Mr.
I believe that.
Mr. Ye is as well. It's just he's one of these figures. He's
Yes,
almost like
yes.
the Tony Stark. He's now Tony Stark.
Yes, yes, definitely. Definitely with rockets and AI.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, and his public persona, which is
And
very in your face. I don't care what
yeah.
you think. Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
But not as charismatic. That's the only thing. He's got no charisma. He is as stiff as a board. Um,
Mm,
but
mhm.
that is the prototype that he's portraying. He's got the rockets. He's got he's doing some real good things. I mean, the cars. I can't stand Teslas personally, but the technology in them are absolutely absolutely A1. Um, Electric cars versus gas guzzlers, quote unquote. Like, how much carbon is utilized to make number one a flipping electric vehicle? Let's just come on, people. Use your bloody brains for once.
And
Like,
what it transforms into and how to dispose
yeah,
of that. Like, the real problem with the environment is the damn pollution.
mm,
So, like, this is not helping that.
it's and then what they do to create electricity, for some crazy reason, they actually burn coal to create electricity.
Oh my gosh. That's yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
So yeah, coal being put up into the atmosphere is
Oh
carbon. They
my
want to
gosh.
reduce carbon,
I
and
mean,
then
there
when
is water, there is some solar, there is some
yes,
nukes, but yeah,
yeah,
coal. And it's
yeah.
great.
Of
I think
course,
it's great. Like, right on.
it's reduce the carbon footprints and all. Let's be green. Let's go green. 2050. No more sort of petrol combustion engines will be made. This is weird as I oil is not going away because oil has invaded our lives in regards to plastics. Plastics
Mhm.
are everywhere. Growing
Mhm.
up, Monica, there was rarely plastics. There wasn't too many plastics. Maybe cleaning products, but for food, there was no food in plastics like that.
And that cheap plastic where the,
Yeah.
like, molecules fly off. You know, you can't
Yes.
keep a bottle of water in your car, like,
Ah,
that gets into the water, and that is carcinogenic. But
yes.
they don't have to
Leeches.
talk about it that way because it's not actually in the ingredients that they put in the bottle.
No. Hence, that's why you have to buy BPA free
Yeah.
plastic bottles, containers,
Yep.
etc. It's
No
an expensive.
dishwashers, no
Yeah.
microwaves, do not put plastic in that stuff.
Mm.
Like, the
F.
real cancer doctors will tell you that.
And look at the spike. I'm sure there's a correlation
Ugh.
with microwaves and the spike in cancer. Because I've heard of chefs, Monica, in the 90s taking the door off of microwaves
Aha!
because it's quicker. You hear me? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Wow.
Yes.
Shnikes.
Hmm.
I'd like
Yeah.
to see the statistics on their health and
I don't think they're with
fertility.
us. I don't think they're with us anymore. I really
I
don't think
doubt it.
one of them. Yeah. As soon as the sous chef told me about it, I was like, wait, look, don't go anywhere near that area. The whole
Definitely.
reason for a door is to
Definitely
contain
not.
it.
Oh my gosh. So crazy.
Back to
Uh,
Musk. Back to Musk.
yeah.
So he's Tony Stark. The Twitter
Yes.
stuff. I don't know. Again, it's money because he's got a subscription base now with buying the
The
blue
blue
ticks and all
checks.
that. I don't care about all that stuff. I really don't care about having a blue tick. Now, what I have come across is some of my associates are writing posts, screenshotting other people with blue ticks in their name, offering services. Yeah, it's dangerous,
It
man.
is predictably.
Whole reason for it. This is more chaos, confusion, and someone's going to make money off the back of it, and it might as well be Elon Musk. Might as well.
Yeah, he's all psyop all the time, in my opinion. Is
Yeah, I
it's
don't. I trust nobody in that
yeah.
respect. If you are in the mainstream, I don't. Jonesy, Tucker Carlson, I don't trust any of these people.
I
I'll listen.
totally agree. But what
I'll
about
listen.
Yay? What about Yay?
Uh,
Yeah, listen. What?
no, I'll listen. Yay. Oh, we haven't spoken about Yay, have we?
No,
Okay. So, Mr. Kanye West, aka a Yay, who's on the spectrum, as I said, in my opinion, or he's just a he's not he his inhibitions are very low and he doesn't mind making a fool of himself, and this is an act. uh on the other hand as well, to add to that, I think this is marketing in two different ways. This is to market his unpredictable brand, and this is also a way for him to get out of these unfavorable contracts he had with Adidas, etc. Do you remember the first interview he did on Drink Champs? That was the very first one he did, and he said, "I'm going to say whatever." I'm paraphrasing now, 'cause I've watched it quite some time ago. I can say whatever I want, and Adidas ain't going to do SITCH. And that's when they were, after that they were calling him anti-Semitic, etc., etc. And then obviously after that, Gap, Adidas, etc. Yeah, we can't have any kind of connections with someone who is saying DEFCON 3 and blah blah blah. So let's look at it. An anti-Semite, as they pronounce over here, or anti-Semite, is a biblical, comes from a biblical place, doesn't it? It comes from a biblical set of people, the son of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They had a family, they had a dynasty, they had a group of nations, and under those nations, they are classed as Shemitic people or Semitic people. So if we just pause for the moments, if this is on the replay, bring up another window and just type in Semitic people and just have a wonderful look at all of the different nations and colors of people fall under being Semitic.
I'm Semitic.
Exactly, exactly.
It's my Syrian grandmother. My father
Yes.
always told me that. He was like, "You're Semitic."
Yes.
Okay.
This is it. So we have people who like Monica. We have people who are maybe even paler than Monica. We have people who look like myself. We have people who look brown, and really, really brown. Some with larger noses, some with straighter noses. But in essence, what I'm saying is this covers a wide set of people, a very wide set of people. From the east of Africa going into the Arabian Peninsula, all the way into Central Africa. So that's going down from, let's see, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, some into the, I think Namibia, I think some Namibians. But you'll see once you do the Google search. So that clears that whole thing up. Anti Semitic.
Does it really? But
Well,
yeah, keep going.
Well, it should bring some clarity in regards to, because people in their head, and when I didn't know, I heard that term and thought, oh, this relates to those people who live over in Africa, in Israel, and oh, so if you question something, or if you say something naughty about them, you're going to be classed as anti-Semitic. So this is the get out of jail card. So
Yep.
if I feel uncomfortable, wait a minute, Monica, you're being anti-Semitic. You can't say that to me. Wait a minute, you can't say that. That's anti-Semitic. That is you. Wait, ooh, you got a bit too close there. So it's a trope used to stop the conversation. Now, Kanya brings a lot of interesting points, a lot of points which are not not correct. But in essence, what he's saying is that the children of so-called prisoners of war, have a lineage and have a history, and that history goes back to Israel. And he's saying that, in essence, the children of prisoners of war spread across all the four corners of the earth, as it was written of in Deuteronomy 28:68, I believe. Um, it says, "Because you did not hearken unto the Most High, I am going to put you again in bondage, in ships, sorry. No, sorry, by the way of ships. And I'm going to scatter you across the earth where no one's going to buy you. You're going to be a bondman to bondman. You're not going to enjoy your language, your wife, your daughter, all of these things." And you're thinking, wait a minute, if I didn't know the Bible, which I clearly don't because I didn't know about this Deuteronomy 28:68, this sounds like it's talking about black people. Wow. And then you read it a bit more and you think, Israel, okay. I thought Israel was okay, but they were scattered. So, of course, it's going to be a mixed multitude of 12 tribes, which, again, many people don't necessarily talk about. There was 12 tribes of Israel. So Kanye, not to get into the greater detail, because I don't want to take too much time,
And
but
one
in
is
essence,
black, right? One is African?
I would say the majority of them are African,
Oh.
Monica. The majority of them were. Because if we look at the lineage, um, and we look at geographically, where are they? They're in Africa. People might say, "Oh no, it's the Middle East," but what is the Middle East? The
Yeah.
middle of the East.
I mean, Libya, Egypt, I mean, they're
It's Africa.
yeah.
Yep. The tectonic plates, it's depending on what source you look
Yes,
at,
yes.
they'll say, "Oh no, it's not," it's Asia, etc. But okay, well, look, those people
Yeah.
there have a darker hue. They're brown. And then in later times, and not even so much later times, but we had a mixed multitude in regards to population. But generally, they were brown. They had quote unquote melanin in their skin. So the majority of them indeed were brown people, black people, as they would be called, classified through generations and through time. Things have clearly changed, and people look very different through marriage, through being with
The
different
very
nations as well.
diaspora.
Yes, this is the whole point. The diaspora. That's the whole point. We come in very different shades and stuff. But I agree with that point. I'm 100% on board with that analogy. The Hitler stuff and all that. No, I'm not
But
with
it
that.
it does dovetail with this like disturbing trend of revisionist World War II history, which granted, when you read history books, when you read Churchill's accounts of things, whatever, like they're very, written by the victor, propagandy, what is good versus evil, 100%. And um there's a book written by Renee Wormser, I think maybe. I can't remember. He was the lawyer for the Reese Commission that was
Oh,
exposing big philanthropy. And he also wrote a book called The Myth of the Good and Bad Nations.
uh,
And so to write history like that is very victor oriented. So yes, you could go back and just, because there's always been a problem when you talk about Hitler, is like if he was a crazed, irrational lunatic, how could he get the better of so many people? Like this is a conversation that I've had with that German guy I was talking about, who's also Jewish, and he's like not a lot of German Jews
well,
in Germany that and so I
what's his
have this.
thoughts on it? Well,
Yeah,
what's his
he
take on it?
says that it's like he doesn't like it when people caricaturize Hitler as being just a lunatic, because he's like, if some very smart people
Yeah.
were taken in by him, and he did a lot of damage, and to think that he was just a scattershot nut job really diminishes the enormity of his crimes.
And
So, yeah.
it also diminishes and takes away, it hides the people who installed some of that
Yeah.
ideology into his head. And number two, who funded him? Hmm?
Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
know, the bankers. But yes,
Mm.
so then how do you get all those people to get along to go along with it? It's just like if Tavistock was behind the Rolling Stones. There has to be value there. It's not going to work. You're not going to get people to adopt something that is just grotesque on its face. Like, it's just not going to happen. So the fact that the history was written caricaturishly, it gives an opportunity to have revisionism. But of course, in my opinion, that revisionism is just one or two steps away from the purpose of it reemerging, which is to weaponize it and create, recreate that really effective 20th century dialectic, which I think they were, moving on to a different one. Like, I think they were moving on to like religious versus secular, and they just went back to communist versus fascist because the religious versus secular was just not effective enough. They had the terrorists, they had radical religion, it just wasn't effective enough. But communist and fascist is, they bring it home to everyone all the time. So I feel like there's a lot of, you're getting now to the roots of when fascism started appealing to people. I have another book by Fritz Stern called The Politics of Cultural Despair. So they're giving us cultural despair so they can bring us the politics that they could bring before. So I feel like what Ye is saying is dovetailing with this very uh, you know, really, I'm not gonna say scary. I'm not scared, but like there's stuff on the right that I think is being planted there, and I think he happens to be reflecting that. But what do you think? Is there any intentionality there, or do you think he just saw an opportunity, or what?
That's I, I would like my cup overfloweth. I'm not going to say my cup is half full anymore. That is the new one. So I would like to think that this is all intentional and genuine from Mr. Ye. But big juicy but based upon his previous actions and his works and his deeds, it screams to me that this is just a publicity. Uh, it's a publicity, and he's doing what's necessary for his own needs and whoever else is behind the scenes, kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, that's true. You can any sophisticated handler can work with with the material that you're offering
Mm,
authentically.
mhm. It's sad. It's really sad. I do again. I'd like to be positive and think that but him aligning himself with Nick Fuentes or whatever his name is, that nerdy looking guy, that young guy. I don't know, man. Him going on Alex Jones and Netanyahu and It- and Alex Jones is going on like, oh, I didn't know, Monica, I didn't know. It was all like I just told him to come on and just do his thing. And even
Oh,
though he
right.
has every 15 minutes he has his breaks where they're not recording, he couldn't say, yo, yay, what on earth are you doing? You
Yeah,
can't put that
cool it.
net away, man. Like, chill
Yeah.
out, man. Oh, what's going on?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Of course, Alex Jones would facilitate it, but doesn't mean that, yeah, he's in on it. Okay, I have one last question about 2022, something that happened right out of left field. I'm going to ask you this. You just tell me yes or no. Are you afraid of getting monkeypox?
Reach the thoughts. No. that
Monkeypox.
that was in the news cycle for what, about a
Oh,
day?
they were trying. Yeah, they were trying to get monkey. It was a big thing. It was the next big thing. Monkeypox. Just ridiculous. My daughter, who like gets all of her news from TikTok, God help us. I literally don't tell anybody, but I paid her to take it off her phone, and she did. Thank God. And I think she's just totally sane now. Uh, she was like, she was texting me constantly, like, "I think I have monkeypox. Does this look like
Oh my.
monkeypox? What's monkeypox? How do you get monkeypox?" I'm like, even if you have monkeypox, you'll be fine.
Yes,
Don't worry
exactly.
about it. It's like, don't say
Exactly.
that. I don't. Do I have it? You think I have it? Like, I
Have a
don't
look, Ma.
know. Whatever. I
But
don't care.
what But what was another strange thing and an interesting thing to me is that there was initially, I don't know what reports I was looking at, but it seemed like they were saying that this was like a big sort of like epidemic, I should say, within like the homosexual community. Did you hear that kind of stuff as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, it's like AIDS. It sounded just like AIDS.
Yes.
Yeah,
Excuse me. The same marketing ploy. So I
yeah,
thought, based upon that, I thought, oh my god, what are they going to do now? Is this going to be the next HIV thing that they're going to drop? But
yeah.
we've still got time left.
Yeah,
So
oh, no, I do think that it'll come back in some form or another, but it was crazy because I did a deep dive on it when they were reporting 90 cases worldwide, 90 cases, so I'm thinking 90 cases worldwide. I mean, there are more than 90 cases of alien abductions, you
I
know what I
know
mean? Like, every single day, probably, like, 90 K and 7 billion people, and you're telling me that you could even get 90 people to think that it was monkeypox. Like, what the and that we know those answers, they're reporting it, what, to the World Health Organization, like, to come out with the next big epidemic when you have 90 cases, and then the next week it was like 900 cases, and I'm like, yes, how did I know that? How did I know that's what was coming? Like, because it wouldn't be in the news. It's just like when they say, like, some kid was abducted in Iowa. It's like, you know what? Kids are abducted in Iowa probably, and they are probably abducted by their dads, and they come back or whatever. And then I'm like, but why are you telling me about this? Why am I hearing about this in LA? Because we're going to hear about it for the next month because something's coming. So I don't think monkeypox is gone, and maybe they can figure out a way to just spray it on everybody. I'm not afraid. Just because it's a just because it's a psyop doesn't mean it's not going to kill people. But
that's a good point. Very good point. Just study to show yourself approved and be diligent. Be as diligent as possible. Don't fall for the okie doke. And I personally would refrain from like large crowds and all that. I've done it for years anyway. I'm not really into being in big crowds
yeah,
of people and all that kind of stuff. You never know what on earth these people are going to plan these days.
yeah,
They're putting in new
that's
legislation in for events, I guess, organizers and venues to have in place terrorism risk assessments and things in place based upon the Ariane Grande,
oh
whatever her name.
yeah,
Yeah, in
Ariana
Manchester.
Grande.
That's it. Yes.
Wow, interesting,
That literally
interesting.
came today. I found that information out.
I've been wondering where that was all going because there was that big, like, was it a festival or a concert where
Concept.
people died of heart attacks and stuff, like, right after the boosters came out? And I don't know, that seemed very strange to me as well. But I wondered if they were going to start putting regulations around public events because they really don't want us to associate
No.
too much. But I mean, I don't think concerts are going away, but I do think that I don't know. It seems like they are the subject of psyops. So maybe that'll be a what to watch out for 2023. Some of the things that
Yes.
we're going to see happen. And I hope that we can make this an annual event, Noble, where we take our
Yeah.
perspectives from two corners of the globe, two corners of the
I,
saucer, whatever it is.
Plane of existence, I would like to call
There
it.
you go. That would be great. So, well, we have really covered a lot. I don't think we hit all like the mainstream ones, which makes me happy. The stuff that's overdone, I don't like. I
Yes,
absolutely love talking to you. I love your perspective. It's such a joy. And tell people one more time where they can find you, and then I'll tell them where they can find me. And until we meet again.
indeed. So do find me on all major podcast platforms, CFR Network. All socials, i.e., Twitter would be the Noble 187. CFR underscore sports. On Instagram, it's CFR underscore news and the Noble 187. Thank you very much for your time. Trustfully, this has been insightful and you have enjoyed our dialogue.
And I love your graphics. So I do encourage people to look at your Instagram. I just love it when you make it like a pretty face of me. I just love that. Maybe you'll do that for me as a Christmas present. Oh, but you don't do Christmas, but okay.
No, no, as a present. I'll do it as a present
As a
for you. Don't
present,
worry.
as a Monica Day present. So, well, that's fantastic. I am Monica Perez, and you all have been listening to Deep Dives, which you can find on your favorite podcasting platform under Deep Dives with Monica Perez, or you can check out my website, which has everything on there, including a lot of show notes, Monica's Deep deepdives.com. And I always communicate with Noble and many, many, many others on Twitter at Monica Perez Show.